Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on more awesome content.
Hey everybody. So it seems like ever since Disney took over the Star Wars franchise that people are hit or miss about loving Star Wars right now. And as of late, I have to say I'm kind of in that boat. I used to read all of the books, which are now legends. I used to play all of the games. Granted, I still do, but for the most part, we don't have too much to go on because there haven't been too many released yet. And for the most part, I also used to be able to watch every single Star Wars movie pretty much on repeat, except for like one or two. I'm looking right at you, Phantom Menace. But ever since this new franchise has come out, I haven't been motivated to read the books or any of the comic series, save for Vader Down and the Jedi Sith related stuff. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the new canon is bad per se either. I actually have enjoyed most of the standalone movies, save for Rogue One, which I thought was a snooze fest up until the last 45 minutes, where it all of a sudden had one of the best cinematic sequences ever seen in a Star Wars movie. The Force Awakens just felt like a rehash, and Last Jedi had issues, while I don't believe it was as many as people make it seem. I think what I'm trying to say is, ever since this transition, Star Wars has lost its touch for me somehow, and it's hard to put my finger on what happened. Maybe it's just because the movies have been just average. But then I think back to the Clone Wars, or even the Phantom Menace, and I would still rather rewatch those more so than The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, both of which I've only seen once, and to be honest, I've had no motivation to see them more. No, where I think the issue lies is in the fear of failure. And as Yoda said,
fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
I feel like The Force Awakens was too safe. And it played out just to be an average movie while failing to recreate the Star Wars feeling of the original trilogy that it was clearly going for. Then The Last Jedi, for all of its plot elements, still pretty much recited the events of Episode 6 by killing off the Emperor-like mysterious villain, trying to recruit the Jedi and turn him to the dark side, having the Jedi Master teacher die, leaving the training unfinished. The movies embrace the formula of the original trilogy without actually realizing what made people love it so much. Star Wars needs to give us that feeling that we used to get reading the books when we were reading about a lightsaber fight between a Sith Lord and a Jedi Master. These new books and movies are missing that spark, that edge that kept us hanging in our seats, the intense superpowered feeling of these Force users. I mean, this new canon has yet to create the feeling I had when reading about Bane facing off against 5 Jedi at the same time. Even Lords of the Sith, which was a good book for all of the psychological insights of Sidious and Vader, it was still missing that touch of just action and intense feeling that we've all come to love ever since Clone Wars, pretty much. But here's the thing. The original trilogy didn't have a lot of lightsaber fights or death-defying feats, so why was that so popular? And if this new Star Wars is just copying it, shouldn't we feel the same way we did seeing A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back? The thing is, they still had this feeling of fun about them. Big, huge space adventure with quintessential characters that were out on a quest, and it was just fun. I can't speak for everyone else, but when I watch the new films, they have this forced feeling about them that the original trilogy didn't have, probably from trying to be something they're not. We all also have the Clone Wars, which, gave us the realization that these awesome powers and these big, huge battles between Jedi and Sith are actually possible, a lot more extensive than what we saw in the original trilogy, and we won't forget that. So with the new canon trying to push out everything Clone Wars related and sweep it to the side, it just makes everything significantly more boring. It would be as if George Lucas never created the Clone Wars and he never even, touched half of the Jedi and Sith stuff that we got today, because it would never have been expanded upon without the Clone Wars. So now the question is, how do we revive our love for the franchise that seemingly won't ever be the same as we knew it, or even better than we knew it? Because it's good. Change is good, but it needs to be better change. And I think for the most part, most fans can agree the change has been more leveled out, like downhill and then leveled out. And I find myself going back and reading some of the Legends canon stuff to just kind of see, what it is that made me love it so much, and what it is that this new canon is missing. And to be honest, I think all we can do at this moment is just make it known the type of things we want to see. I mean, Battlefront now is doing Clone Wars stuff. Our voices were heard. Clone Wars TV series is coming back and finishing. Our voices were heard. And I'm not a specific advocate specifically just for Clone Wars. I know some people are, but I actually don't think that that's just the greatest era ever. My favorite eras are actually the New Republic from the Legends canon, and the Old Republic from the Legends canon as well. I think those are two great eras that definitely outshadow the Clone Wars, to be honest. That's what I would actually rather see. But, our voices are being heard with the Clone Wars, and I have no problem with them doing the Clone Wars, but we should expand and make it better and do things we never actually got to see on screen back when it was Lucasfilm, things we probably never would have gotten to see on screen. And I think at this point, it's just a waiting game until, the new people in charge of this franchise kind of find their groove in making the franchise its own better thing again. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and tell me what your favorite Star Wars moment is in this canon or even Legends. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.